Hello, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. My name is Larry Rhodes.
And I'm Ralph Eisler. And we want you to know that if you don't believe in gods, you're not alone. Right here in East Tennessee, there are plenty of free-thinking atheists and agnostics. This is a show for them, and for people curious about living a life free of superstition.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun meetup, often at a bar or restaurant. Tonight's meetup is at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria in the Old City for happy hour, food, drink, and conversation. It'll be right after the show. And Friday we'll meet for happy hour at Beer Market, it's a little hard to say, at yeah. Bearden Hill. To find us at either one of these places, just look for the silver-jacketed copy of The God Delusion standing upright on the table.
And the Rationalists of East Tennessee have several monthly activities. The first and third Sundays, we usually have a round table with lively discussion. Second Sunday is book club meeting. And the fourth Sunday is usually an intimate meeting and potluck dinner at somebody's house, if you want to come. Now, this next book club meeting, we're going to talk about Jared Diamond's book, Collapse. Very interesting book about how societies either decide to live or to decay away. And then 2 weeks from that, or a week from that, third Sunday of the month, I'm going to give a talk on the history of the Earth. And it has a lot of really interesting stuff about how scientists know what happened in the past by simply reading the rocks and what's inside them.
Right. Today is June 4th, 2013. And we'll be talking about David Silverman's Top 10 Myths of Atheism. David Silverman is the president of American Atheists, and we'll get to that in just a minute. First, in the news. A Florida courthouse will be the first to have the first atheist monument on government grounds. Plans call for a 1,500-pound granite monument bench, which the group American Atheists will be placing at a free speech forum outside the courthouse in Bradford County, Florida, this month, 2013. Courthouse in Florida will soon be the site as held as the first atheist monument to be found on government property. Bradford County Courthouse already has a Decalogue display, that is the Ten Commandments, just outside of its building. Will have a large granite bench placed on the National Organization of America's Atheist site for them in late June. Dave Moscato, public relations director for American Atheist, told the Christian Post that the atheist monument was part of a settlement made with Bradford County over having the Ten Commandments display at its courthouse.
Yeah, Bradford County agreed to a settlement with us, allowing us to place our own monument adjacent to the Ten Commandments instead of removing the latter, Moscato said. While separation of religion and government is always our primary motivation, equal access works for us in this case. We're thrilled to place what we believe to be the first ever atheist-sponsored monument on government property in the history of the United States. Moscato also told CP about the details of the monument bench, which will be placed outside in front of the courthouse, alongside the previously existing Decalogue display. The monument is a 1,500-pound granite bench with quotes from Madeleine Mary O'Hare, an excerpt from the Treaty of Tripoli, signed by President John Adams, and quotes from founders Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, said Moscato. In case you don't know, the Treaty of Tripoli was a treaty that was signed, it was initiated in George Washington's time and signed by John Adams, and it specifically stated that America was not founded as a Christian nation.
The most interesting part about that to me is the fact that the entire, what was it, the Senate? Or the entire Senate voted unanimously to approve that treaty with that language in it, saying that America was not founded as a Christian nation.
Yeah, little hard to believe that would sell in the Senate these days, right?
Right.
The monument also includes a 10-point list that parallels the Ten Commandments, specifying biblical punishment prescribed for violating each commandment with biblical citations. Several of the punishments are simply execution.
True. Last year, the secular group sued Bradford County over placing Ten Commandments display near its courthouse and on public property, as as the Free Speech Forum. The Decalogue, a 6-ton granite monument, had been placed at the forum by a local Christian organization called Community Men's Fellowship. The large Ten Commandments display was erected at no cost to the county. In March, American Atheists, Community Men's Fellowship, and Bradford County agreed to a settlement in which the secular group would erect its own monument. William E. Sexton, counsel for the Board of County Commissioners of Bradford County, told this Christian periodical that the atheist monument would not be paid for by tax dollars. Pursuant to the settlement agreement, American Atheists Incorporated submitted an application to place a monument in the Free Speech Forum. Their application complied with the requirements of Bradford County's monument placement guidelines and was granted.
And Sexton also stressed that neither the Decalogue nor the American Atheist Monument were located in the courthouse itself, but rather in an area outside known as the Free Speech Forum. Established in October 2011, the Free Speech Forum was created so as to allow private groups to place monuments there, explained Sexton.
Let's talk a little bit about the fact that they really were trying to get the Ten Commandments removed from government land, but since they wouldn't do it, they then tried to get other types of monuments there. This is really just opening the government grounds for all types of monuments, for all types of religions and belief systems. But it's better to have equal access to the law under all religions and no religions than to have one particular religion favored over all the others.
Yes, the Supreme Court ruled several years back that monuments in place in Texas, which had the Ten Commandments, could keep them there so long as they were placed among other documents. Right. And there were other documents in that particular area. And so that's sort of become the ruling now, and I see that Giles County in Virginia has settled a similar lawsuit there. And so that's probably where things should go in the future, and I think we have to look to joining them rather than fighting them on this and try to get our own statements placed in these public fora.
Right. Pluralism's not a bad thing in this particular venue.
Yeah.
I'd like to invite our our viewers to call in. The number is at the bottom of the screen. We'd be happy to take your calls anytime, next 50 minutes or so. Today's program is the Top 10 Myths of Atheism, an article written by David Silverman, who is the president of the American Atheists. They're out of Atlanta, Georgia, aren't they?
I'm not sure exactly where they're headquartered.
Okay. Top 10. Okay.
Yeah, it posted top 10 atheist myths on their website. And Mr. Silverman started his article by saying, "We all know many theists are so closed-minded about us they won't even talk to us, let alone try to understand us. This is usually not their fault, as they are told terrible things about people they trust, terrible things about us by people that they trust, okay? They're preachers, basically, whose whole livelihood depends on their parishioners staying in the flock. It is this prejudice and conflict which is one of the main factors keeping atheists in the closet and theists in ignorance. With dialogue, not prejudice, both sides will benefit and the country will become a freer place." In this article, Silverman says, "I will therefore mention many of the myths about atheists that are popular among theists, as well as my usual responses. With any luck, this will prepare atheists for future confrontations and therefore make them more confident to announce themselves, as well as to allow theist readers to better understand the atheist mentality." So he says, let's talk about some of these myths.
Before we jump right in with the first one, I thought this might be a good idea to bring this one up. It says, Silverman says, the theist readers will help to better understand the atheist mentality. Well, this book just hit the market this past month. Atheism for Dummies. It's written by a PhD, Dale McGowan. It's well written, got a lot of good information in there. And, I'd also look on the YouTubes for his video where he points out 10 things that even he learned doing research for this book.
Yeah, I find reading websites and people's comments about atheists that many of them completely mischaracterize atheism as to what it is. They often say, well, atheists say there is no God. Now, some atheists may be rather adamant about that, but most are not.
Well, atheism itself doesn't say anything about God because it's talking about a belief.
Yeah.
You may believe in God, you may not believe in God. If you don't believe in God, you're an atheist. That's it. It doesn't make any claims about whether or not God exists.
Right.
But generally, theists do make that claim, and they are in the position of having to defend that claim. And we, as atheists, have never seen enough evidence from those types of arguments to credit them.
No.
Okay, the first myth that we look at says that atheists are all the same. You can understand why theists believe this after being told over and over by their preachers, and I'll go as far as to say teachers, government officials, police officers, because generally growing up for the entire history of the United States, they mostly have been Christian.
Yeah, but there's a point here that you can't say all Christians are the same, right?
No.
I mean, how many denominations, Christian denominations, are there? And people are all different in some respects. And I would maintain that almost every individual has his own religion in some respects.
So true.
So,
and there are even Christians who don't believe that Christ was the Son of God. They're followers of his teaching and still don't believe that there's sin or there's an afterlife or any of that. So there's just all types of different Christians, and there are all types of different atheists.
yeah.
Example: Catholics must also have the same stances on abortion, contraception, homosexuality in order to be called a good Catholic. But it only goes to follow that atheism must be similar, correct? No. Atheism is not a religion, but rather the absence of a religion. And as such, we are bound only by our atheism. One thing that we all agree on is that we don't believe in God. That's it. There are atheists. Let's think about the Buddhists. Buddhism technically are atheists because Buddha is not a god. He's a teacher. Confucianism, they are atheists because they don't believe that, Confucianism wasn't. Confucius,
Yeah.
I can't think of his name, was not a god. So you can have very religious people who are technically atheists. We atheists can be Republicans, Democrats, men, women, gays, straights, blacks, and white. We accept every person as they are as equal and delight in our diversity, and not many religions can say that. We disagree with each other on many issues, and discussion is encouraged and common. Above all, atheists demand the right to disagree, even if it means with each other. And if you want proof of that, all you need to do is come down to one of our meetups.
Yeah.
Plenty of discussion and taking all particular stances.
Right. Come down to Barley's at 6 o'clock after the meeting here, after the show. Meet us down there, and you'll find a couple dozen people, all individuals, probably all have different ideas in some way or another about...
or you can just call us right now.
Right.
Numbers on the screen. We'll be happy to talk to you about pretty much any of these topics.
Yeah. Okay, well, myth number 2, as Silverman says, is that atheists have no morals since they don't believe in God. Now, this is one that really bothers me a lot, because belief in God does not constitute morality in any way, and you can certainly look at history or even look at present society and see that it's not true. What a sad world is when people seriously say that humans need to fear eternal damnation in order to be good. It's the one statement which at the same time stirs both anger and pity in most atheists. Anger because it's a bigoted, prejudicial statement which serves no purpose except to promote intolerance, and pity because it highlights the speaker's ignorance and willingness to accept such crap without question.
You're quoting.
I'm quoting.
Yeah.
I'm quoting. That's not my words. I should put that in quote. Okay. And he goes on to say, at the risk of validating the question, the reply needs to be made in order to expose the speaker to the idea that what they've heard is wrong on so many dimensions. It must not be answered with anger, but with compassion. Humans have the idea of right and wrong embedded in them by their own brains, as well as their upbringing in society. Atheists do good not out of fear of reprisal, because it's the right thing to do. It's a human thing to do. We value family, society, culture, and of course freedom. And many of us will and have defended these values with our lives.
For example, many Catholics may make judgment calls on moral decisions against their church. For example, some use birth controls or have abortions, despite what their church preaches. If these people can make moral decisions despite what their church preaches, then atheism can make similar choices without a church altogether. Slavery was not acceptable 200 years ago. Slavery was not only acceptable 200 years ago, it was considered a good deed by many and defended using the Bible. The Bible was also used to justify the Holocaust, the Crusades, and the Spanish Inquisition. Why is this relevant? Because it shows that the Bible can be used to defend even the most immoral and unethical ideals, and that therefore not an adequate yardstick to measure morality or ethical behavior. And some of the commandments in the Bible are just terrible, against people, against humanity.
Oh, yes.
And what really gets me is the way that God theoretically would just drop plagues on his own people at the drop of a hat. Who was it? David took a census one time, and God didn't even punish him, he punished his people, which killed thousands of them. And this is on and on and on all throughout the Bible.
Yeah, and the commandment, thou shalt not kill, in the Bible, it doesn't refer to not killing in general. It means not killing people in your own tribe. It was directed towards the Israelites.
Right.
And because certainly if you were to believe the Bible story of the Israelites moving into Canaan, God told them to kill everybody except the young women.
Well, even better, worse than that, when Moses came down off the mountain and he was carrying the Ten Commandments that said, "Do not kill."
Yeah.
Moses found that they were building and worshiping a golden calf, and he turned his own people against their brothers, and slaughtered thousands of people right there, just for the sin of breaking one of the other commandments.
Yeah, right.
An image.
Yeah, I can. There's an opera about that, actually, too. Believe it or not. Okay. Finally, let's mention some bad religious people. Remember, Hitler was a religious Catholic, and Jeffrey Dahmer said grace before he ate his victims. Nice touch. Mention also that one needs only to open a newspaper to find yet another story about allegations against priests for sexual misconduct, often with children. And don't forget our good friends, Jim Bakker, who swindled millions from his flock, and Jimmy Swaggart, who asked for forgiveness only after being caught using prostitutes. So we always have to couple these statements with the fact that while atheists make up 8 to 10% of the population at large, we only make up 1% of the population in prison. I mean, think of it. 8 to 10% of the population decided it's okay to steal, rape, murder, would have chaos if they did. These will serve to prove that religion and ethical behavior are not even slightly related. Expect these statements to piss off the theists, of course. Again, this is Herb talking, not my language, quoting. And this is where you must mention that what you said is verifiable and that statement is openly prejudicial against 50 million Americans. This is an opportunity for you atheists and agnostics out there to open their eyes of theists to the fact that just because we're different from them doesn't make us inherently bad.
What gets me is that theists tell each other, well, I think we have a call coming in. Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have your name or nickname?
Call me Jeffrey. I'm calling from Southern Canada right now.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Well, thank you.
do you have a comment or question?
Well, you've been on the air now a couple of years, and I'm surprised I hadn't heard about you before this.
Oh,
We heard about it on Sunday when Lee Erickson called into the Pink Atheist and had a short interview.
I see. Okay.
So,
Now you got my interest.
oh, very cool.
Well, good.
Are you with an atheist organization up there who does this type of thing?
Yeah, several of them, actually.
Oh, well, very good.
Oh, great.
I wanted to talk about Knoxville there because I saw your paper online this morning. I think it's called the Knoxville Sentinel.
That's right.
Yes.
Interesting story about Carson Newman University sending off missionaries to 13 states and 9 countries. Why do they think 13 other states have no Baptists? Curious. Same newspaper, different article.
Yeah.
Susan Hendricks, a very good religious woman, held a family prayer circle, and then turned around and killed 2 sons, her husband, and her mother-in-law.
And then tried to pin it on one of the kids.
Yeah.
Wasn't she a good Christian?
Yeah, that's well, the Knoxville News Sentinel, I think does a pretty good job actually of trying to put in letters from different parts of society here. And of course we have a lot of fundamentalist Christians in this area, a lot of biblical literalists. And so you get sort of a cross-section in the paper of what people think. And some people are very primitive in their thinking, at least from my point of view, of course.
Yeah, I was out writing.
Yeah, that kind of people would scare me quite a bit, actually. If I met her face to face, I think she would scare the crap out of me.
Yeah. I was out riding this morning on my motorcycle, and I passed a house who had a full, not just a cross, a full-size crucifix with a life-size Jesus on it in full color with like pink skin and red blood on it. It's just amazing. That's the kind of thing you see here. Did you read the article? What magazine was it in that recently said that Knoxville, Tennessee was the #1 Bible-believing city in America?
Oh, I would find that hard to believe and a little disappointing. Aren't you close by the Oak Ridge National Laboratory and a whole bunch of other research, science kind of people?
I wouldn't
I would
expect it
think that you
myself.
may be one of the most liberal, science-oriented cities in the Bible Belt.
And we have the University of Tennessee, too, right here.
Well, it may be that there's a polarization there. I actually work at Oak Ridge National Laboratory, and I'm retired, but I still work part-time. And certainly the people there aren't very fundamentalist, at least not the ones I work with, although I do work with many people who are religious. But once you get outside of that area, out into the surrounding counties, you don't have a lot of people with higher educations there particularly. And in fact, in Anderson County, the local Baptists must have been, I think, 55 churches succeeded in getting the county commission to pass an ordinance that said they were going to put plaques saying, "In God We Trust," all around the 4 sides of the county courthouse. So it's pretty basic once you get outside of that little nexus, that little hub of intellectualism that constitutes the laboratory.
True.
Well, that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, you got to keep pushing your show into the public eye as much as you can, because at least it makes it more comfortable to admit that you're an atheist.
Yes, and
that can be important.
That's one of the things we strive for. We're trying to get people to understand that if they have atheist or agnostic feelings, that they don't have to keep them to themselves, that there is a support group out here that they can relate to. And in that vein, do you have some suggestions for how to get information out to people, how to get the word out that we have this show? And also,
well, I had a couple. I'm glad you asked because I'm really full of it. I mean, ideas.
Good.
You got the University of Tennessee nearby there. They must have a student newspaper and a student radio.
Yes.
I don't think it would cost a whole lot to advertise on that, and there's a good breeding ground for rationalist people. Well, shall we call them?
The Secular Student Alliance is active there, too.
Yes.
So
I should mention to you that we have, usually once a year, this year, though, we hit twice, we have an invited speaker at the Rationalists of East Tennessee, and we do advertise that on the radio station WUOT from the university and in local papers. So that gets some of the word out, but the advertising is not free, so it's a little expensive.
I know, that's why I was thinking the University of Tennessee would probably be a little cheaper than, say, the mainstream media advertising.
Well, we have a Metro
and
Pulse.
You got a better, more fertile ground at the university there.
Yes.
Also, another idea I have, because I did check the videotapes on YouTube, and I saw a show that I think was a couple of weeks ago. We mentioned Gideon Bibles were being handed out at the local high school.
Right.
Right. May I suggest a couple of sheets of paper with some really good, juicy Bible quotes? The ones insisting that incest is a good idea, abortion is a good idea, drinking is a good idea. Give them the really hardcore stuff that Christians don't normally talk about, because most of them don't read the Bible and they don't know what the damn stuff is in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Matthew 10 would be a good one. Matthew 10, that's where 35, that's where Jesus says, I do not come in peace. I come with a sword to raise havoc.
Right.
Cause discourse.
Yep.
Things like that. The Bible is full of them. You can check the notes on the Skeptic's Annotated Bible online.
Yeah.
Check out some really good stuff.
There's a passage.
Another good one is Ezekiel 4:12, if you're familiar with that at all.
No, I don't.
That's how you make bread with your own excrement.
Oh, okay. That's why I'm not familiar with that.
Well, there's a passage in Deuteronomy 28 that says if you don't follow the commandments, and we're talking 613 commandments here, that God will bring you so low that you will eat your own children. Deuteronomy 28.
So eating your own children apparently is a good idea. Lot and his daughters and the children of Adam and Eve, incest.
Yeah, yes, that's...
This is Bible morality, that first one, or what's the second one from Mr. Silverman's top 10? We don't have morals.
Right.
Yes, right,
Look at the Bible carefully. I don't want the morals of the Bible.
No, I think most people wouldn't if you really pinned them down on it. But, if you're brought up in the milieu that says that the Bible is the Word of God and that everything is good in there and God is good and loving.
And you don't read the Bible.
And you don't read the Bible, actually. Then you go through life believing that stuff.
That's a good book.
That's trouble with it.
Yeah, I found most true-believing Christians don't know the Bible very well. Atheists tend to know the Bible so much better.
Yes. One reason is because a lot of them were brought up in churches. I don't know if you were brought up in church or not. Both Larry and I were. And so we were exposed to all that stuff. So we are familiar with it.
I was raised Catholic. My mother was a very devout Irish Catholic with a medical degree. And I went to a Catholic school for 4.5 years. But the thing is, in kindergarten, they're telling us about God and Jesus and Cinderella and Dick and Jane and the Easter Bunny. And I recognized my mother's handwriting on the Christmas present. I never believed it. I simply never believed it. I thought all those stories were equal, just stories.
Yeah. Well, that's... that's good. That's probably the way most kids get the stuff to them. They can't
I did
distinguish
believe it. I did believe it because I didn't know that not believing it was even an option, the way I was raised.
Yeah, that's.
I think I was in 3rd grade myself when I realized that some of my classmates actually believed there was a God. And I'm saying, no, it's the same as Cinderella and Aesop's fables. Wolves do not talk at grape trees. It surprised me. I'm just 8 years old. But I think it's fair to say that I've never been a believer. Also, I get a real kick out of good, devout Christians who say, I'm a good Christian. That's why I never drink alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
Think about it for a minute.
Yes, of course. What was Jesus' first miracle, right?
But it was alcohol.
There was a passage in the Bible about not drinking strong spirits, though, but that's not Jesus. That is Paul.
Yeah.
You might call them, you're not Christians, you're Pauline.
Well,
too well.
Of course, we all know that without Paul, there would be no Christianity, right? So.
A lot of Christians also don't realize that Paul wrote his stuff first. The Gospels came after Paul.
Yes, right.
Like 100 years after Paul.
He never claims to have seen Jesus in the flesh either.
Well, no, he didn't. Jesus was long dead before Paul.
Yeah. Vision.
Yeah.
I'm one of those that believes that Jesus is a total fabrication. If you read up on Mithras and several other deities at the time, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Even that line in the Last Supper where he says, drink this in remembrance of me, that's the same prayer you did for Bacchus and Dionysus.
Yes.
Drink this in remembrance of you, God.
Right. There are a number of scholars who would classify themselves as mythicists who are in your same category there. They believe that, well, maybe there was a Jesus who was a real person, but he's not the same Jesus that you find in the Bible. So,
Hercules and that.
Yeah.
You might try getting on a guest here named David Fitzgerald, because he's written a book on that very subject. The mythical cults that existed even in Roman times. Julius Caesar wrote about his childhood at like 90 BC. He mentioned some devout Hebrews, Judeans, is what he called them, who had their own god, but then they went around the corner to the temple of Mithras every once in a while just to avoid trouble with the Roman police.
Oh, yeah.
Now, when you combine Mithras with devout Jews, you end up with Christianity of the first century.
Yes.
This is 90 BC.
Yes, and in fact, you know, even into the first century CE, why, or even farther, even in the second, why a lot of the soldiers in the Roman army were Mithraists.
Mithras, yes.
They weren't necessarily Christians, and there was this contest between the two, you know, all the time. And I think Constantine just flipped a coin, you know, to try to keep the conflict down, and said, well, we're going to adopt Christianity.
Yeah. And
that was it.
Even he
and pretend it's Mithras.
Right, even he
Funny
didn't.
thing about Mithras, he had 12 followers,
Yeah.
12 apostles,
He
he died, was gone for 3 days, rose again.
Right. Had 3 wise men visit him, was born in a cave, as some of the earlier legends about Jesus have it too, etc. Yeah, they're almost identical so far as I can tell.
Yeah. And even
And Mithras dates 600 years BC.
Yeah.
It's a Zoroastrian religion, so you'd have to look up Zoroastrian religion.
Right. Right.
They still exist, but it's a different name. Jains. Janis.
Yeah.
It's pronounced Jains. It's an Indian cult,
Yeah.
but they are actually the remnants of that Zoroastrian religion.
Yeah.
So they've been around now 3,000 years.
Oh yeah. Well, long time. Long time. Yeah. So, well, where exactly do you live in Canada?
I'm in a city called Mississauga. It's a city of 1 million people, right on the outside edge, western side of Toronto.
Ah, uh-huh.
So our
Okay.
GTA here is about 7 million people. So that nutty mayor in Toronto is not my problem. We have our own nutty mayor. Guy getting smoking crack and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And your mayor, Madeline Rogero.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Rogero. Yeah, she pronounced it Rogero, I think. She's she was elected about 2 years ago now, or something, year and a half, 2 years ago.
she's been a very good one, in my opinion.
Yeah, she
Well, can I praise the mayor for being a strong supporter of atheist causes? I'd like to say that.
I'd like to say that.
I don't think so. That's not going to sell for a politician in this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, we.
The thing is, as a Canadian and a first-time caller to your show, I'd like to believe, without any doubt, that Madeline Rogero is a strong supporter of atheists.
Well,
You can report that to the local newspapers, and don't forget to reference your clip on YouTube so they can hear you heroically defending your mayor and politicians as true believers.
I think they might disown us. We might have to leave town.
Yeah. I don't think that'll fly. But,
You want to piss off a politician in your area? Put atheist support behind them.
Yeah.
That should cost them a few votes.
That'd be good.
well, we're at the bottom of the hour, and we need to go to break here.
Yeah, so we have to take a little break here, and we're going to put on a little promos for our show.
And then we'll probably get on with the mist.
And get on. So thank you very much for calling in, and
It's been a pleasure talking to you, gentlemen.
would like to have you do
Look
it.
forward to in the future.
Yeah, yes,
Okay.
please do.
Thank you.
Okay.
If you're just joining us, this is the Atheist, this is Freethought Forum. I need to get to the break sheet.
Yeah.
Excuse me. In case you're just tuning in, this is Freethought Forum, a program by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee. Freethought Forum is funded jointly by them and by individual contributions. Shows are live most every Tuesday from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock on Community Access Television. That's Comcast Channel 12 in Knoxville. You can also see it streaming live online outside the Knoxville area by going to ctvknox.org.
So this is a call-in show, and we're live today, June 4th, 2013. So viewers, please call in to the number on the screen if you have some questions or comments for us. We'd truly appreciate it.
The Atheist Society of Knoxville, or ASK, meets 2 times a week. We have evening meetups for food, drink, and conversation. ASK purpose is to supply a venue for community camaraderie and outreach to the atheists, agnostics, freethinkers, and other like-minded persons in the East Tennessee area. Sam, do you have that information video queued up?
The scientific method over supernatural beliefs? Are you concerned about religious leaders and organizations imposing their values and rules on your body, your family, and the rest of our society? Well, take comfort in the fact that you're not alone. The Rationalists of East Tennessee meets weekly for fellowship and provides a forum for people who support skeptical thinking and rational discussion of these and other issues. To find out more information or to find out about our next meeting, visit us on the web at www.rationalist.org. If you live in or around the Knoxville area and are questioning your religious beliefs or simply believe in one less God than everyone else, well, you're not alone. The Atheist Society of Knoxville is a fun and friendly group of people just like you that meets twice a week at a bar or restaurant. We meet every Tuesday night following the show at Barley's Tap Room and Pizzeria for happy hour. You'll find our group either inside or on the patio. Look for Richard Dawkins' silver-jacketed book, The God Delusion, standing upright on the table. On Fridays, we meet at Agave Azul or the Beard and Beer Market. But if you plan to preach, proselytize, provoke, or punch, please don't. We all question what we believe at one point in our lives. If this is the time for you, come join us for food, drink, conversation, and fun.
And welcome back. We'll be talking about myth number 3 now. The myth is atheists believe in evolution, but that doesn't answer as many questions as creationism. Well, atheism is not a scientific theory, rather a lack of belief in a God or lack of religion. We do believe in science, generally. There are some atheists out there, I'm sure, that have a problem with some of the teachings of science, maybe Buddhists or Taoists or Confucius. But we believe that science and that all questions will eventually be answered with science if they're not answered today. It's gone well so far, giving theories regarding evolution, geologic movement, and the Big Bang, all supported by evidence but not necessarily endorsed by all atheists. Creationism does not give all the answers either. Furthermore, it goes so far as to choose which questions to answer and discourages the questioning or the asking of the rest. Believers are loath to discuss where God came from or what he was doing before creation. They refuse to give good answers for the many biblical inconsistencies or the terrible injustices of the world because they know that no such answers exist. They merely answer with, there are things that we mere humans cannot fully understand, or the Lord works in mysterious ways. In the end, religion doesn't answer as many questions as it raises. Particularly, you invent a mysterious, complicated, omniscient God to solve a question that probably has a simple answer. That God itself raises all kinds of questions. And then you have all of the story that you built around the God to answer even more questions like, why is there evil in the world? Or where did we come from? That they're not real answers, they're just statements.
Right, and that's why I disagree a little with what Herb says here. He says creationism doesn't give all the answers. I would say creationism doesn't give any answer. Yeah. It's a default position when you don't understand anything. You just say it was magic.
I believe we have another caller on the line. May we have a name or a nickname, please?
Hello?
Hello, you're on the air.
Okay, this is Charles.
Hello, Charles.
Calling from Illinois.
Okay.
Oh, hi, Charles.
Welcome. Do you have a comment or question?
Yeah, one of the things I find about the top myths of atheism is the continued obsession that atheism and the belief in biological evolution are the same thing.
Right.
Right.
And I find that a lot of the Christians think if they could get rid of biological evolution, atheism would stop existing because to them there's no other options.
Yeah. Plus, there are many Christians who also believe in evolution. They're not mutually exclusive, but many.
That's one of the things I had to point out to a lot of people. In fact, they don't even deal with the same subject. whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so strictly
Right.
with whether or not they accept the claims of God or gods as true. And the other one is the exclamation of biological diversity in the world.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So true.
But basically, when the theory of evolution came along, it made people think that there might be another way that all these different animals could have come about, rather than through a sudden creation by a supernatural being somewhere. So in a sense, while they are different, they sort of play off against one another in some sense.
I heard somebody say, it was a quote, it says, evolution doesn't make you an atheist, but it does make it possible for you to be an atheist.
Yeah.
Because it does explain where life came, well, not life, but where this huge diversity of life on Earth came from, as well as humans.
Yeah.
Yes, and my comment in that direction is it's a process that allows you to discover whether or not biological evolution is true or not, is what has led to many people becoming atheists, i.e. asking questions and accepting the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think, I don't know for some of us, I can't speak for Larry, I can speak for myself. My initial foray into atheism really was simply because I couldn't believe there was some supernatural being out there whom nobody had ever seen and who was allowing all this evil to go on in the world. And then as I got farther along in my life and started to study biology and evolution, why that did sort of reinforce that feeling, though.
True.
For me, it was the realization that if the biblical accounts could not jibe with nuclear physics, that if the biblical accounts were correct, we couldn't have made the devices that were used as weapons during World War II, because the mathematical statements used by the physicist engineers is the same mathematical statements used by the geologists to describe the age of the Earth.
Yes, right. And stars, for example, hydrogen bombs work on the same principle that stars burn hydrogen to make helium and energy, right? And so if all this stuff was suddenly created one day without any physical process being there to do it, then you're right. We couldn't have nuclear power or hydrogen bombs or what have you.
Okay.
And finally, one of the last kickers, at least for Christianity, for me, was the man that discovered how to create the vaccination for smallpox.
Uh-huh.
I forget his name.
Jenner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Edward Jenner.
Back in the, I think it was the 1500s.
No, I think it was a little later than that, but I can't remember for sure.
Yeah, how he discovered that the cow maidens, the women who were taking care of the cows and so forth, were not getting
smallpox.
Yeah.
Because they had
instead of thinking, well, that must be God's will, he says, now why is that going on?
Right.
Right.
Whenever
And yet, for the entire previous, how many centuries has smallpox been around? People going, it's God's will, it's God's will, it's God's will, and all the saints and all the miracle workers and everything, none of them had a clue.
Right.
No, and that's...
And whenever you say it's God's will, that's just the end of science. That's the end of questioning. That's the end of investigation.
Right, and if you look, science, as I would define it, is just about 400 years old, starting with probably Galileo and Newton. And almost everything we have in society, the way our society operates, is dependent upon science and its technology. all the knowledge in the last 400 years that we have has come from science. I can't name one thing that's come from religion.
And one thing
Field of
I
knowledge.
like to say is
Well,
that
I can think of a lot of unpleasant things. I've read some of the accounts of the 30 Years' War.
well, the thing about
Yeah,
science is, if anything ever were to prove something about science wrong, it would have to be science proving it wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, that was how they got. We went from Sir Isaac Newton's theory of gravity to Einstein's theory of general relativity.
Right.
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot for calling in, Charles. We appreciate hearing from you, and
Okay.
Here every
and
week.
we'll look to have you on again.
Okay.
Thank you.
calling.
Bye. Okay. Well, that brings us to myth number 4 here, which is atheists cannot know there is no God since you cannot prove he doesn't exist. Now, again, this is a two-sided coin, but theists are loath to admit the other side. Atheists don't need to prove the non-existence of God any more than we need to prove the non-existence of Zeus or Jupiter. Can theists prove God over any alternatives? I don't think so. Of course not. Nobody can prove God exists, yet they will stand on their heads saying they're sure. Well, if they can be sure despite evidence to the contrary, we can be sure in light of evidence in support of atheism. Now, I took an interesting little course last couple months, it's an 8-hour course on the philosophy of religion. And I really enjoyed it. The fellow who taught it was a professor emeritus from the University of Pittsburgh. And he went through all of these machinations, you know, the theologians go through to prove the existence of God. Mm-hmm. And so it was really enjoyable. But of course, I came out not believing that you can prove God in any way. So
I think we've got another
caller. Okay.
Welcome to Freethought Forum. May we have a name or nickname, please? You're on the air.
Yeah, I just, my name is Randy.
Hello, Randy.
Randy?
You have a comment or question?
I do have a question. It's kind of like a joke, but then you may have heard it, but what did the atheist say once he did find God?
Once he what?
What did the atheist say once he did find God?
Well, I don't know. What do you say?
Ouch, ouch, that burns. Turn it down.
That's very funny. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah. Okay. Is that all you have, Randy?
I think we dropped him.
No.
No, I assume that he's not worried about the Islamic hell or the Indian Hindu hell. So you can see we're worried about as much about your hell. Anyway, moving on to myth number 5. Atheists seek to remove religion from society and therefore force all people to be atheists. Well, that's absolutely wrong. We seek only the freedom for people to make their own choice, a choice of their own free of intervention from the government or public schools. We seek the freedom not to support religion through taxes, forced participation, or special privileges of any kind. That being said, your thoughts on the subject are your rights and none of our business. Excuse me, wear your jewelry, celebrate your holidays, pray in your house, church, or in public if you like. Just don't use the power of the government to force your religion on other people. That's what we're all about. This is in direct contrast to many of the world's religions, including Christianity, which include worldwide expansion as one of their central objectives. Isn't it amazing that they falsely accuse us of doing what they do openly? Only with atheism, it's evil. Trying to force atheism would be hypocritical, since we would be placing pressure from the state on people to believe in a certain way. But let me give a good example of our objectives. Again, this is David Silverman talking. The objectives, and at the same time answer this charge by using money that we use every day. In God we trust. It is the government actively promoting religion. in God we do not trust would be the government promoting atheism. We advocate the complete omission of the statement, thereby rendering the money neutral. We feel the same way about the rest of the government. It should be the Switzerland of the religious debate, while at the same time being the protectorate of the individual and his rights.
Yeah. There is a lawsuit going forward. Whether it'll get to the Supreme Court or not, I don't know. The Freedom from Religious Foundation has joined with some other people to remove the "In God We Trust" from the coins, and probably to get rid of it as the national motto, which it is right now. I don't know how far that will go forward. Michael Newdow, who is an atheist physician in California, tried to bring a suit to that effect, but he was turned down because they said he had no standing to do so. And I think he's joined with the Freedom from Religion Foundation now to see if they can do it.
Okay, I think we have another call. Do you want to take it? Okay.
Hello, caller. You're on the air. Do you have a name or nickname?
Yes, Evangelist Sam.
Evangelist Sam?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I'd like to share it with you. I've been sharing the Word of God since 79.
Okay. Would you turn your TV set down and just talk to the phone? Yeah, thank you. There's about a 7-minute delay there, and it gets very confused.
Yes, you know that the scripture says. Can you hear me?
Yes,
We
yes.
can hear you.
The scripture says.
You need to turn down your TV, sir. Please turn down your TV and listen to the phone.
Okay, is that good enough?
No, I can still
No,
hear
we
it.
can still hear it.
Okay, what about now?
That's good. That's good. Go ahead.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, the scripture says, Psalms 53, it says, the fool has said in his heart, there's no God.
It also
Corrupt
says,
are they,
sir, it
and
also
have done abundant iniquity. There is
Sam,
none that doeth good.
brother.
Anyone that says there's a...
It also says to kill the gays. Should we do that? It also says, well, never mind.
Well, never mind.
Yeah, I think we've
yeah.
lost.
We have to have a little debate here, and we don't want to be preached to.
Right.
So-
Religion has about 95% of the airways on this station, and others. We'd like to have our hour, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, how about Silverman's myth number 6? Atheists are so closed-minded they can't see miracles happen every day. Okay, now some people look for miracles where none exist. Allow me to put things in perspective. Again, this is Silverman talking. Someone's cancer going into remission is no miracle, but we can talk when disease suddenly disappears from the face of the earth overnight without help from medical science. Food getting through to the hungry village, human perseverance. Starvation vanishing from earth without a reason overnight, a miracle. One more time, a child is born. Science, the spontaneous end of birth defects, the miracle. Get it? These are different. Miracles are things that happen so far outside the normal course of events that they cannot be considered something that would happen in those normal course of events.
A pillar of fire, water, sea splitting in two, a river is turning to blood. Why don't those happen anymore? I heard one person say, you know, ever since the invention of cameras, miracles have like plummeted.
Yeah.
You know, and video cameras and stuff.
Yeah, but then somebody said with the invention of Photoshop, yeah, the miracles started happening again. I thought that was pretty good.
We've only got 5 minutes left in the show. Why don't we go at least name the last few?
Yeah, okay.
And we can talk maybe quickly about them after we get them named. I'd like to at least have them on the air. Myth number 7, atheists are pushing a negative sentiment and have a dreary life. Well, we invite you to come down to the show, to the after show party at Barley's Tap Room Pizzeria here in Knoxville in the old city, and you can judge for yourself. However, I have to take argument with the statement of having a dreary life. We don't push a negative statement. I would think that living your life or under fear of punishment by eternal roasting is a pretty negative statement. And especially when you push that belief on children and tell them that his non-religious friends are going to go to hell, that's a pretty negative statement.
Yeah. And I remember when we got together with that group of people at one time from the church who invited us over to find out what atheists were like. One guy made the comment that, gee, we thought you were all really sad sacks. You know, he was surprised we weren't. It just goes along with that myth, I guess.
Not the case.
Okay. Well, myth number 8. If the atheists are right, then religious people are wasting their time, but at least they're happy. No harm in that. If religious people are right, atheist goes to hell. Just seems logical atheists should become religious to be safe. I like getting this question, Herb says. Anyhow, religious people are pretty much wasting their time, I think, trying to convince us if they start quoting the Bible. I mean, I think we're pretty reasonable, honest people and can have a rational dialogue. If you think you can really make the case for theism versus atheism, we'd be happy to talk about it. And we're happy to have callers, but, you know, don't call in and start quoting the Bible.
Okay, myth number 9. There are no such things as atheists. In other words, there are no atheists in foxholes. As soon as we come under stress or under fear that we're going to throw our hands up and fall to our knees and call on God, that's not the case. I don't know of any particular examples, but it says, Silverman says it's more fantasies from believers. There would never exist a single human whose reason and logical abilities surpass the pressure of society to believe in a deity. This is especially true in a situation of imminent death, where they believe that all atheists would drop to their knees and beg God. But there are atheists in foxholes, and if you'd like to meet a few, come down to our meetup after the show. We have Afghanistan and other Middle East veterans down there, and veterans from other wars, that would be happy to talk to you about that.
Right. And myth number 10, this country was founded by Christians on Christian values and therefore should be a Christian country. Well, this country was founded by many people who had different ideas. Some of them were Christians, some of them were pure deists, and most of them were probably somewhere in between. So at the time that the Constitution was signed, that is, say, roughly 1780 to 1800, in that period, census have shown that only 10 or 15% of people actually belonged to churches in that period. And certainly if you consider the Puritans, who were, as the founders of this country, they were just one group, but they weren't trying to escape to get religious freedom as Christians. They wanted to create their own little theocracies, which they did in these little towns in New England. Right. So I don't think we would want that kind of theistic burden set on us today.
And there's the last one I like to say is the myth that people believe that atheists worship the devil. The devil is one of the supernatural creatures in your book. We don't believe that book. We don't believe the creatures. Why would we worship the devil?
Yeah, he's about the same category as God.
Right. It's time to start wrapping things up. Get out your pen and paper. This has been Freethought Forum by the Atheist Society of Knoxville and the Rationalists of East Tennessee.
Please send us feedback. You can leave voicemail at 865-272-9060 or email us at freethoughtforum@yahoo.com.
You can see this show on Tuesdays from 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock Eastern Time, or you can see it streaming online at ctvknox.org.
Yeah, we would like to send our thanks to Sam, Jonas, and Forrest for technical support, and to all the staff here at the station, to all our callers.
Remember